Yeah, you can sit anywhere. Y'all may be seated. Y'all may be seated. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is now in session. The court is in session. In cause number 25 CCCR 0732. Case is styled the state of Texas versus Omar Young Sr. Let the record reflect that Mr. Young is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Marcus Wilkerson. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant Criminal District Attorneys, Attorney Andrew Hubel and Attorney Farrah Nixon. Let the record reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the courtroom. State, are you ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Defense, are you ready?
Defense is ready, Your Honor.
Okay. And Mr. Hubel, or who's going to read the information? Mr. Hubel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may go forward. Read the information.
In the name of the authority of the state of Texas comes now the undersigned Assistant Criminal District Attorney of Jefferson County, Texas, on behalf of the state of Texas and presents into the county court at law of Jefferson County, Texas. That in Jefferson County, Texas, Omar Young Sr., hereafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about February 9th of 2025, did then and there intentionally prevent or obstruct Joey McLemore, a person the defendant knew to be a peace officer, from effecting the arrest of the defendant by using force against said officer, to wit, by struggling with the arresting officer against the peace and dignity of the state.
And Mr. Young, how do you plead?
Not good.
Okay, you may be seated. State, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may go forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. And first, I want to thank you all in advance for your time and attention this week. Justice could not work without y'all. And essentially, what an opening statement is for, the purpose behind it is so that the attorneys on each side can sort of give you a roadmap of what the case is going to look like and explain what we feel the evidence is going to show. So in this case, what we believe the evidence will show is that on February 9th of 2025, in Jefferson County, Texas, specifically in Beaumont, Texas, at 3255 Elmira, at the then known Starcrest Manor apartments, there was a rather large disturbance. There's reports of yelling and fighting in the city, and a large group of Beaumont Police Department officers were deployed to that scene. In that group are officers Joey McLemore and Steve Holmes, who the state is calling as witnesses in this case. Now, upon arrival to the building or to the apartments, the crowd noticed the police presence and quickly dispersed. The evidence will show that when the officers responded, following that initial dispersal, whenever the individuals believed that the police were gone, they regrouped at the same area they were before. And as police officers reapproached this group, the state believes that the evidence will show that the defendant in this case, Omar Young, was among the group of people that the officers interacted with. Specifically, Joey McLemore with both of the group told them that they couldn't stay here, that they needed to go home, they had to leave. The defendant in this case, we believe the evidence will show, approached the officer with his hands in his waistband in a way that signals to officers with training experience that you might have a weapon. At that point, the officers briefly detained the defendant to conduct a pat down and make sure that he did not have said weapon. And at that point, they allowed the defendant an opportunity to leave. We believe the evidence will show that the defendant refused this opportunity and stayed on the scene. And the officer, having previously seen signs of intoxication during the pat down on the defendant, namely that, there's an odor of alcohol in his eyes when bloodshot. Made the determination that the defendant was a danger to himself or others, and placed him under arrest for public intoxication. Or attempted to place him under arrest for public intoxication, rather. That's the important part. When Officer McLemore attempted to place said defendant, under arrest, we believe the evidence will show through the testimony in the videos presented in this case, that the defendant struggled against Officer McLemore and made it necessary for other officers, including Officer Holmes, who you will also hear from, today, that, he struggled such that they had to, work together to take him to the ground and place him under arrest. And that. So again, essentially the roadmap for this case is what I laid out, um, in, um, in this opening statement. The officers in this case, you'll hear their testimony, you'll be able to view their videos. That will be entering into evidence, and, I look forward to presenting this case to you. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkerson, would you like to make an open statement?
Yes, Ron. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As my colleague said, this is justice, right? Justice is not an end result. Justice is a process. Specifically, it is due process, and that is what we are here for today. To offer both this defendant and the alleged victim, the officer, justice. Their day in court. So, what about what the state told you is true? You will see officers responding to a 911 call for a large disturbance where people were yelling. You will, if you hear the 911 call, you will hear that the 911 caller reported that there were no weapons. Also didn't comment on whether or not drugs were involved or being exchanged or sold. You'll see police respond to the area. You'll see people running away. You'll hear people screaming. You'll also see multiple police officers walk by the defendant several times, not saying anything to him, but remaining in the exact same spot he was in before the officers arrived, once the officers arrived, and up until this confrontation between himself and Officer McLemore began. Now, what you'll see is the defendant going to get in his vehicle. He doesn't have his hands in his waistband, he's got his hands in his pocket, right? Now, the officer is going to tell you, so he's commanded to take his hands out of his pockets, right? He says, why? Now, if you're an officer, right, your training and experience says this person could be armed and dangerous, may have a weapon in their pocket. But if you're a defendant or an accused, and multiple police officers have walked by you several times, you're not involved in the disturbance, you're not yelling and hollering, you're just sitting there watching what's going on with two other people, one a coworker, you wouldn't necessarily believe you're under investigation, right? So the defendant asks why. You'll see immediately a number of officers seize him to physically remove his hands from his pockets. Upon learning that he did not have a weapon in his pockets, you'll see those same officers push him backwards. You'll see him steady himself. You'll see him take out his cell phone and start recording, asking the officers for their name and badge number. You'll see the officers were in no mood to deal with somebody who's upset with them for what they've just done. You'll see a number of officers, the same officers that were involved in seizing him initially, all seize him at one time, right? You're gonna see video of the arrest that's occurring here, and you'll see video of after he's in cuffs, him getting in the car willingly and freely, not even with the officers coaxing. And then you'll be asked to render a verdict as to whether or not this defendant evaded arrest, search, or transport, right? Because that's what this offense is. This offense isn't upsetting a police officer. The offense he's alleged to have committed is evading. after you see the evidence in this case, if that's what you believe happened, then by all means, find the defendant guilty. But I submit to you, that will not be the case. I look forward to showing.
Okay. Mr. Hill,
State Holmes Officer E. Holmes.
Holmes, okay.
You should be.
Yeah, turn that. Hmm. Please come forward, Officer Holmes. Officer Holmes, will you please raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you may put your hand down, you can take the witness stand, you could adjust the mic and the chair. You may go forward.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Officer Holmes. Can you please state your name for the jury?
Heath Holmes.
And how are you employed?
I'm a police officer at Willow Police Department.
And what training and experience is required to be a Beaumont police officer?
So we go to the police academy, 4 months long, and we go through it's 28 weeks, I believe, of field training with a field training officer. And then you do continued training every year,
And did you say how long you've been with BPD?
about 3.5 years.
Okay. And are you a certified peace officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you been a certified peace officer?
For about 3.5 years.
Okay. So you were a certified peace officer in February of 2025.
Yes, sir.
And your duties back in February 2025, do they match what they are today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you explain some of your duties in the position? First of all, can I ask what your position is?
I'm a patrol officer.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury some of your duties in that position?
Patrol officer is typically what you see in, I guess you could say, the movies. We answer calls, dispatch calls, make traffic stop. It's pretty much the extent of it.
Okay. So some of those calls would be calls for assistance,
Yes, sir. Answering 911 calls.
and others would be calls to respond to services.
Yes, sir.
And do you recall responding to a disturbance of the night of February 9th of 2025?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall where you responded to?
I'm not sure what the complex is called now. It changes every couple months, but it's 3255 on that.
Okay. And that's in Beaumont, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And it's in Jefferson County, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And is there anything notable about that area?
It's an extremely high crime, violent crime, lots of narcotics. So we probably get on average 2 or 3 calls at least per night at that complex.
And did you have your body worn camera active
Yes.
during your response to that disturbance?
Yes, sir.
May I approach?
Yes, you may.
I'm showing you what's marked as States Exhibit 1 and 2. Do you recognize them?
It's they're matched with the case numbers of this is the cause number, I believe.
So, are you aware of what the contents of these flash drives are?
It'll be from our body worn cameras.
Okay. And you've had the opportunity to review that footage, correct?
Yes, sir.
That footage, like you said, was made on your body worn camera,
Yes, sir.
and you're a competent operator of that device,
Yes, sir.
and it's a device capable of making accurate recordings.
Yes, sir.
And what you viewed on here was a fair and accurate depiction of what you recorded that night.
Yes, sir.
No alterations.
Yes, sir.
State would offer, or state would tender stakes 1 and 2 to defense for inspection.
No objection.
Okay, no objection, states exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted.
I'll publish it at a later time.
Okay.
Now, do you recall the nature or the scale of the disturbance?
So a lot of those services we got there, including this one, it's large parties, I guess you could call it in the parking lot. It is residents and non-residents that kind of just all come together in the parking lot at all times of the night, all times of the day. Frequently, it's a lot of fighting, drinking, things like that.
Yelling and shouting?
What's that?
Yelling and shouting?
Yes, sir.
So generally stuff that one would constitute as a disturbance.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And given, given the fact that this was a large scale disturbance at the complex, were there a lot of officers out there responding?
There's multiple officers.
Okay. And among them was Officer Joey McLemore one of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So were you and were you and Officer McLemore in uniform that night?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you met up with Officer McLemore, was he interacting with an individual?
So can you ask that one?
When I guess another way to ask it was when you caught up with Officer McLemore, was he interacting with another individual?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you see that individual in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Did you identify that individual by pointing at them and stating an article of their clothing?
Black t-shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
And can you describe the interaction as it went down between Officer McLemore and this individual?
The first thing I noted as I approached, is that I saw the defendant with his hands in his waistband. That's, obviously as a police officer, that's, big cue to pick up on, because it's typically where, someone would conceal a weapon, whether it be a gun, a knife, any type of weapon. I saw that, Officer McLemore also saw that, along with the other officers, and they started moving towards, the individual. And due to the nature of the call of disturbance, conducted a pat down.
So at this point, you and other officers are detaining the defendant for that
Yeah.
pat-down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he ultimately have a weapon on him?
No, sir.
Okay. And at that point, do you recall whether or not Officer McLemore got the defendant loose?
He intended to, he was, we're trying to separate the terms out. Can't say everyone, but a large majority of the individuals that were out there were very obviously intoxicated just based off their demeanor, mannerisms, and, their demeanor, mannerisms. We're trying to clear the parking lot, get everybody, hey, go back inside, we're in a busy parking lot. Trying to not take people to jail and just clear the disturbance.
So it'd be fair to say that Officer McLemore gave the defendant in this case a chance to leave.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation, characterization.
Objection sustained.
Did McLemore make the decision to place the defendant under arrest?
Yes,
And how did the defendant react to that?
he immediately began to physically resist, using physical resistance, from that point.
So he struggled with Officer McLemore,
Yes, sir.
and did that require you and other officers to assist him in making the arrest?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And following the arrest, do you recall what the defendant's demeanor was?
I think a good word for it, but, best way that I can say it is, very intoxicated, very disorderly.
Um. Would argument it would be, a good descriptor for it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And whenever, whenever officers attempted to identify the defendant, was he compliant with that effort?
No, sir, he refused to identify himself.
Well, following the arrest at the scene, was there any additional, places that you and Officer Malcolm worked with the defendant?
Yes, sir. Typically whenever someone's overly intoxicated, we'll bring them to Baptist Hospital for jail clearance. Just so that we can kind of make sure that they're safe and, of course, before we bring them to the jail.
And also given the context of the situation where he was taken to the ground, was that taken into context?
Of course, she said.
Now, on arrival to the hospital, did the defendant actually received the treatment?
No, sir.
And why was that?
Then he was refusing to identify himself to us. He didn't want to identify himself to the medical staff. So that we wouldn't be able to get his identifying information. And inevitably, they're not able to treat someone who they don't know who they are. And they
So he wasn't
eventually
just,
said that I refuse to be cleared for jail.
so he wasn't just argumentative with you, he was argumentative with the staff of the hospital.
That's correct.
And then after the hospital, was he ultimately transferred to Jefferson County Jail?
Yes, sir.
Permission to publish, states when you're on.
Okay, may publish states one.
The white shirt, gray pants, and shorts, people don't mind. This way, that board, got people running everywhere. Hey, Dan.
Just briefly, this is when you first arrived at the complex?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you describe again the scene that, like you walked up on there?
So as we were approaching our vehicle, we saw there's multiple large crowds that spread throughout the parking lot. And as it frequently happens, as we approach, we'll take off running. That's what I was talking about whenever I was describing the person who took off running.
No, I'm not sure. Is it that way? Where's that from? I think it's back this way. I'll go home. We're going to jail. What's she have? Go down before we start paying on people.
Well, we just witnessed at the end of stage one, was you walking up on, a crowd of people, is that correct?
Correct.
Alright. And, this is one of the disturbances that you were called out to respond to that night.
Yes, sir.
And during that response to that particular disturbance, there's an individual in your path next to you, correct?
Say it one more time.
There's an individual in your path next to you whenever you're walking up to, that disturbance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that individual was part of the disturbance, they were yelling with the group as well.
That's correct.
Objection, leading, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question. Was the individual in the pathway in front of you, also yelling as part of the disturbance?
They were.
And was that person told to leave?
They were.
And they complied?
They did.
And that person was not ultimately arrested that night?
That is correct.
And at the end, you mentioned, you said that you would, PI people. What does PI stand for?
That was actually not me that said that. The PI stands for, public intoxication.
But, in your experience with these kinds of disturbances or individuals involved often intoxicated?
Yeah.
Permission to publish these to Your Honor?
Yes.
What did you do it? I don't want the bad number, I want the bad number. I don't want some bad number in your name. Get off. I want, give me, can I get the bell?
Few questions. Right, so whenever we were speaking earlier, in your testimony, you talked about a pat down of the defendant,
That's
correct?
correct.
Is that what was just displayed, on Stacy's exhibit number 2?
That's correct.
The officer that's currently on the screen, on the right side of Stacy's exhibit, of what's being displayed from Stacy's exhibit number 2, is that Officer Joey McLemore?
I've got to go ahead.
There's one vote.
Yes, it is.
And after conducting that pat down, did did Officer Macklemore, say, tell the defendant to leave?
Yes, sir.
So in that, he was given an opportunity to leave.
That's correct.
Okay, go home. Man, I don't care where you go, but you got. You get your hands up first. It's policy, you have to use your hands, I don't have that. You got something, you got something, Williams, you got something. Come on, hey, for what? You're not scared. Thank you, record this shit, thank y'all, record, y'all can have a lawsuit without heads. Y'all gonna have a lawsuit without heads. Y'all have to have a lawsuit of y'all heads. I'm not investigating. You can't move on this prosecutor. So you can't blow me. Blow me. And you can't tell. You both kind of fucking eye. You can't cross my eye. You said, thank you, because y'all got it recorded. You can cross my eye. Y'all gotta get a fucking lawsuit of y'all heads. He's not following the truck. He's having me confident. I have to go and you have to know. You know, what the time is back. You don't set up the fuck out. Nothing goes to me. Yeah, I'm raising my hand. I give my phone out with my mouth. And I'll go ahead and I can look back there. Thank you. Thank you for getting that. Thank you. Thank you.
And the Beaumont Police Department, do you have badge numbers?
No, sir.
Okay. Like, there's no similar system to it is there no similar system to it for officer identification?
We've got, it's a computer code that we use it to link, whenever we log into the computers, it links it to our current radio number. So that would be, most agencies use the badge numbers as the radio number, but our radio numbers frequently have switched so often that it's on computer codes to log in.
Is that used more internally
Yes,
than as an identification system?
that's correct.
And you can hear on states exhibit 2, that Officer McLemore did provide his name to the defendant.
Yes, sir.
State that's with us.
Ms. Wilkes?
Yes, please. Actually, well, you can say it. Okay. Officer Holmes, how long were you on scene when this took place?
I couldn't tell you the time frame, sir.
Can you give an estimate?
Maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Now, you had already been out of your patrol vehicle one time at least, correct?
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that you walked by the defendant when you first got there?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay. The individual in the red there, that's the defendant, right?
I'm assuming so since
You don't know?
I can't see his face from right here, but I'm assuming since you're asking me that he's confirmed that that's.
Was that the person in the clothes that you described the defendant wearing that evening?
If you could fast forward a couple seconds, I'll say yes, because somebody confirmed that.
Yeah. At that time, let's just identify him as the individual in the video with the red shirt.
Yes, sir.
At that time, there's an officer who walks by the individual in the red shirt and two other people, correct?
That is correct.
And they're just standing there, correct?
That is correct.
They shine a light on them, correct?
That is correct.
Nobody's told anything to your knowledge, correct?
Not from me.
Is there any safety concern at this point in time for the person in the red shirt?
Not specifically,
Okay.
other than normal, that's it.
Well, your report and your testimony indicated that the defendant was involved in the disturbance that took place, correct? Well, is that person, are you saying that the person in the red shirt there was involved in the disturbance?
I'm saying that whenever I made contact with him in the second video, the reason that we got back out of our cars is because the defendant was involved in a secondary disturbance.
A secondary disturbance, what do you mean by that?
So whenever we first went through here, disturbance dispersed.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to do. We hung out on scene to try to keep the disturbance dispersed. And while we're still on scene, the disturbance kind of came back together. And that's where you see me stepping out of the car.
Okay, and you're saying that the defendant was involved in yelling at the time that there was this quote unquote second disturbance?
As I approached, yes, sir, that's
As you
with
approached,
the video shot.
do you mean when you approached from when Officer McLemore is interacting with him?
You talking about the second body camera?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so in your report, you know, I observed Young resisting these efforts when you say, while Officer McLemore began to conduct a pat down of Young, I observed Young resisting these efforts. That's what your report says, right?
Yes, sir.
So was he resisting prior to being arrested? Is that your allegation or assertion?
I have to rewatch the video again, sir. I don't recall.
You just saw it, right? And you wrote this report, right?
That is correct.
So that's at least that's your allegation at the time, right?
Yes, that's correct. I recall at the time.
In your report, you don't know that the defendant was released, do you?
No, sir.
Why not?
It's only a supplement. It's not a full report. I wasn't the arresting officer.
Let's see.
I believe it was a long time ago, so yes, it was a supplemental.
Let's look. Well, how long by the time this disturbance took place? How long had you been a patrol officer?
About a little over 2 years, I believe.
In that same area, that same region where the disturbance took place?
In the city of Beaumont, yes, sir.
Well, you noted that y'all usually get a couple calls a night for a respond to that particular apartment complex, right?
That's correct.
Are you one of the officers that responds to those calls?
I am now, yes, sir. At this time, I was a north end officer, now I'm a south end officer.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, how long have you been a North End officer?
So I've been here about 3.5 years, I believe. About maybe 6 months ago, I went south.
How many disturbances south, I apologize, got those mixed up. So you were north, you changed to south,
That's
and
correct.
as a South End officer, you respond to disturbances at this location.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Since approximately 6 months ago, how many disturbances have you responded to at that location?
I couldn't give you a number, sir.
Can you give me an estimate?
Maybe 30,
30?
Uh,
Okay.
maybe,
During any of those disturbances, have you encountered the defendant?
not that I can recall.
And prior to that disturbance, had you ever encountered the defendant?
I don't recall.
When they'll make an arrest, do you run a person's background?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you do that with this defendant?
I don't recall if I did or not. I'm assuming that you mean running them through NCIC, TCIC to check for warrants.
Yes.
Typically the arresting officer will do that.
So that would be maximum responsibility. Who was it?
Yes, sir.
Who was it that shouted y'all would start PIing people?
With those Officer Macklemore, but I'm not 100% sure.
Public intoxication, there's no separate evidence other than the officer's belief required to prove public intoxication, is there?
It's the suspect's actions
Right, so
and demeanor.
you don't have to administer any type of testing, correct?
That is correct.
And so the belligerence that you're describing the defendant being engaged in is requesting information from officers.
No, sir.
Okay, was it clear at the time that the defendant was placed under arrest what it is that he wanted?
I'm not sure what your question is, sir. I can't speculate to what he wanted.
I see. Well, he was demanding identification information, right?
Yes, sir.
Was it not clear that he wanted identification information?
I mean, that was clear. Yes, sir. He received that.
He received that from one officer, right?
That's correct.
One officer was not all the people who were involved in conducting that pat down, correct?
That's correct. He was asking one officer his name.
That's me. And with regard to that pat down, immediately when he's saying, "What is y'all doing?" his hands are behind his back, aren't they?
I don't recall him saying that.
I see. And when he's placed under arrest, his hands are behind his back, aren't they?
Once they were placed there, yes, sir.
Once they were placed there. All right, let's take a look back at states 2. And I'll note, so the time on the camera at that point is 1:05 a.m., right? The video that was just up. It's okay. Officer, why is your body worn camera audio not active at this time?
So they got a 30-second buffer. So from the time that I activate my camera, it's showing video from 30 seconds before that.
Okay.
It's continuously recording so that we can go back and get ghost footage, they call it. So you'll see as I reach up and press the body camera, that's whenever the sound kicks on, is whenever I turn it on.
All right. So right here, right now, what is the disturbance that you're alleging is taking place?
I honestly, I can't recall a year and some change later what exactly was going on. I just know that they were yelling and screaming. And that's why I ended up getting back in my car because I heard a bunch of yelling and screaming from behind us.
From behind you?
I believe it was behind us. My left, whichever one that.
To your left. So there's a number of officers in this image walking toward the bright light in the top right-hand quadrant of the frame, correct?
Yes, sir.
Those officers are not seeking to engage the defendant and the two people who are standing near that silver vehicle, are they?
I'm not sure what they were going toward or what they were saying.
I see. Well, you said originally you testified that it was a disturbance created by this defendant was the reason you got out of the vehicle, right?
Disturbance, not necessarily, you said created, is that what you said?
Yes, for being engaged in or created by this defendant.
Engaged in, yes, sir.
Okay, so your testimony is that right now he's engaged in a disturbance?
Okay, whenever I was getting out of my car, the reason that I got out of my car, him along with another group of people were yelling and screaming and had gathered back together.
All right. Prior to you getting in your car, had the defendant yelled and screamed at any other time?
Not that I observed in the video.
If the defendant's yelling and screaming, why aren't the other officers, except for the one far to the left, walking toward the defendant?
I believe that they're going towards a group of individuals that are in that vicinity, like I said.
Okay,
And Officer McLemore, who you're saying approached him, like me, also saw his hands in his waistband.
all right. So at that point, you see the officers going past the silver car, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And where is the yelling that you're talking about coming from?
That general direction.
All right, is it this defendant?
Is this the first video or the second?
This is the second video where the arrest takes place.
Okay.
Is it the defendant? In this video, is the defendant engaged in creating a disturbance?
I believe that he was engaged in a disturbance, yes, sir.
So at this point, officers have turned to the left to engage the defendant who Officer McLemore was engaging. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
All right, so the officers have changed their direction to move towards this defendant,
That's
correct? All right. And you, now,
I don't want you to very bad in the name. Get rock. I want to. Oh, give me.
so, let me go back because it happens very quickly. All right, so at this point, are you alleging that the defendant is resisting arrest or search?
Well, Officer McLemore attempted to grab him to conduct that pat down search and he spun around away from him, so I would say yes.
Well, you said he you mean what's about to happen? Is that what you're?
About 2 seconds.
Okay, his hands are behind his back, right?
Like I said, about 2 seconds before you had it paused.
Who is that tells him to kick off? Who is that tells him kick off, go home?
To kick rocks, that's Officer McLemore.
Okay. Now, he's asking for identifying information, right?
That's correct.
Hey, where you going? No, let me get your band up first. That's policy, you have to do your band, you don't have that. Oh, you want to have something, go. You got something, Williams, you got something. Come on, guys. You're not safe.
Now, at this point, the number before the defendant is taken to the ground by a number of officers. First of all, would you agree with me that a number of officers were involved in the pat down search that had just taken place?
Yes, sir. There's multiple.
All right, and the defendant surrounded by several officers, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Come on, guys. You're not safe.
Now, at this point, how many officers are engaged with the defendant?
I'm not sure. I know me and Officer McLemore were.
Do you know if any others were?
I wasn't really able to tell who was hands-on with him at that point. For my counter fellow, or was not though.
All right. So this is the resisting, right? This is the resisting that this
That's
defendant.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you, record, thank you, record this shit. Thank y'all, record. Y'all can have a lawsuit without head. Y'all can have a lawsuit without head. Y'all have to have a lawsuit of y'all head.
Now-
I'm not,
At this point, you hear handcuffs clicking, right?
Yes, sir.
Are those the handcuffs that are being placed on the defendant?
I believe so. I think there's only one arrest, so.
Right. And at this time, the defendant's on the ground, correct?
I believe so.
you can't move on this side of the so you can't blow me, and you can't tell. And it's one kind of funky eye, you can't cross my eye. You can't, thank you, because I got that recorded, you can cross my eye. Y'all get a fucking lawsuit of y'all head.
Now, at this point, the defendant is yelling about his eye being busted, right?
That is correct.
I'm trying to cover place. I'm not following instructions. He's not really talking to me. I'm trying to go and he's talking to me. He's not a fucking smoke in my car. You don't say, fuck up. Nothing goes to me. Yeah,
Here we see the defendant on the ground being picked up, right?
That's correct.
Is that the same person who was observed earlier in the video in the red shirt? And when we talked about the person standing on the side of the video, when you're walking up in the first video, right? When you get out, you walk around the corner.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the same person, right?
I'm assuming so, yes, sir.
So up until the point where he was issued commands about, without any kind of reasoning or discussion or anything of this nature, up until that point, nobody has questioned him. He has not been belligerent. Would you agree with those assertions?
Up to this point,
Up to the point where this interaction begins, where the pat-down search begins.
no, sir, I wouldn't agree with you.
You would not agree with that. If he were a threat or a danger, or he were acting in a belligerent manner, why did multiple officers, including yourself, walk right past him?
Because at that exact moment, he was not, and we were going towards the screaming. Or attempting to locate the scream.
Put it in my house. I give my phone out, put it in my house. When I go there, I feel like that.
So at this point, he's being walked toward the patrol car, right?
That's correct.
Is he resisting at this point?
Not that I can recall, I didn't finish watching that part, but it doesn't really look like it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
He proceeds to the patrol car while still upset and making remarks without any resistance. Is that accurate?
That's correct, in that fourth division.
All right. And you allege that he is in a drunken and belligerent state in your report, right?
Yes, sir.
Because without that, it would not have been appropriate to arrest him. Is that accurate?
What do you mean? by
Without him being drunk and belligerent, there wouldn't have been a reason to arrest the defendant, would there?
that? If he was not intoxicated,
Correct.
then we would not have arrested him for public intoxication, that's correct.
So you say he was arrested for public intoxication, but nothing was said about being intoxicated until y'all are taking him to the ground. Isn't that correct and true?
I don't think I said anything about being intoxicated until then.
Would you agree that when multiple officers take someone to the ground, that those officers are often giving commands that may be an opposite to what other officers are saying?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, would you agree that when multiple officers take somebody to the ground for a search or to arrest them, whatever the case may be, that officers are often giving commands that sometimes might countermand other commands given by other officers involved.
I think I would disagree with that, especially for this.
Okay, so you would disagree with that as a premise? That's your testimony here today, right?
That officers are given different commands.
Right, that officers will give commands that don't always comport with other commands, such as stand up, lay down.
I would agree that always would be correct. That, yeah, it's not always the case.
Okay. Would you agree that when you've got multiple people taking someone down, that you're dealing with people pulling and pushing in multiple directions?
That is possible to happen, yes, sir.
You stated you and multiple officers passed up the defendant because y'all were going toward the screaming. And at that time, that the defendant was not engaged in that screaming. You also, was it you or someone else who stated people are running everywhere?
I don't recall saying
Let's-
that. Actually, I'm sorry. I do, in the beginning of
The first
the
video?
first video, I said that as I was, I think, getting out of the car.
All right, that didn't include this defendant, did it?
I didn't specifically see him running. I said,
Do you know anything about what the defendant does for work?
I don't know.
Do you know if the defendant had just been recently gotten off work?
No, sir.
Did you ask the defendant any questions?
Not that I can recall.
Isn't it true the original call said there were more than 20 people involved in the disturbance?
That's correct.
From your original observations, officer, did you believe that this defendant was one of the people engaged in the original disturbance?
I think that everyone that was outside was involved in that, whether it be a witness, a bystander, and someone involved in that. Yes, sir.
Let's see, but nobody questioned the defendant about what happened, right?
No, sir.
And up until about 1:15 in the morning, the defendant, not only had nobody talked to the defendant, but nobody saw the defendant as a threat or were concerned about the defendant being intoxicated and therefore dangerous to himself, a danger to himself or others. Is that accurate?
What's the question?
All right, let's break it down because that was multifaceted. First of all, what is the offense of public intoxication require?
Being in a public place, a danger to yourself and or others, of course, intoxicated.
Okay, and we've already talked about the fact that multiple officers are walking by this defendant when y'all are responding to the disturbance, correct?
Yes, sir.
We've talked about the fact that multiple officers didn't ask questions of the defendant, correct?
That's correct.
So you said that everybody out there was involved in some manner, whether it be as a witness, a bystander, or having actively participated in the disturbance, correct?
That is correct.
So in your mind, is everybody then that's outside at that point a suspect?
If we don't know what crime's been committed, so I can't say that there's a suspect. We just know that there's a disturbance.
All right, well, if you had concerns about the defendant being there, why didn't y'all tell him to go at the time you initially walked by him?
I'm not sure that no one did. I know I didn't say anything to him. I don't know if
Okay,
no one did. At that point, I was, like I said, I was more concerned that there's people screaming and going to that.
Past witness.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Everyone, please stand as the jury exit the courtroom. Okay, court will be in recess.
You said 10 minutes, Joe?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna run downstairs.
Yeah, everyone's, please stand as the jury come in. Somebody's missing.
Oh.
Okay, y'all may be seated. Jefferson County Court, Alabama, number 2 is back in session. The court is in session and calls number 25 CCCR 0732. Case is filed in the state of Texas versus Omar Young Senior. Let the record reflect that Mr. Young is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Marcus Wilkerson, state is present with Assistant Criminal District Attorneys, Attorney Farrah Nix, and Attorney Andrew Hubel. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the courtroom. And Mr. Wilkerson, you have passed the witness, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hubel, you may proceed. You're welcome.
So during Mr. Wilkerson's questioning, he talked about you and other officers walking by an individual in red earlier in State's Exhibit number 1. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Was that individual walking towards any officers at the time?
Yes,
Was there anything showing at that time whenever you and other officers were walking by him that he was contributing to an act of disturbance?
yes, Your Honor.
So he did not seem to present a possible danger to himself or others at that point.
No, sir.
Right. Were there more immediate concerns present at the scene,
There was.
including an act of disturbance?
That's correct.
The defendant, based on your observations of them, was he compliant or argumentative in regards to Officer McLemore's efforts to search him?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
Okay,
You lost
Did-
the beginning.
I'll rephrase it.
Yes, sir.
Did the defendant comply with Officer McLemore's efforts to conduct a pat down?
Not initially, no, sir.
Okay. And you, this, so you would say that he struggled against Officer McLemore?
What I
Objection, leading, Your Honor.
Would you, I'll rephrase,
Okay, objection sustained. You may proceed.
would you say that Officer McLemore, would you say that the defendant, resisted Officer McLemore's efforts to conduct a pat down?
Objection, leading.
Objection sustained.
Did you personally witness the defendant struggling against Officer McLemore's attempts to conduct a pat down?
From what I can remember from the video, saw Officer McLemore go to grab him to conduct a pat down search, and the defendant spin away, and that's about the time that I was able to grab the officer's side of his hand. And then from that point forward, he was mostly.
Okay, and with that in mind, is resisting search a separate offense?
That would be a separate offense, yes, sir.
Okay. And, but he was not ultimately charged with resisting search in this case.
I don't believe so, no, sir.
Okay. And is that, so whenever making a decision to either arrest a suspect or not, Officers have discretion in that regard, correct?
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Do officers have discretion in making decisions whether or not to arrest an individual?
We did.
Okay. And. Let's see. In regards to the arrest for public intoxication. Did you make any personal observations regarding the defendant's intoxication?
I did and then continued making those observations throughout, the arrest and through the rest of the night, but, of course, Officer McLemore in the video said he could smell the odor of alcohol.
In
And the
into
policy.
the hearsay, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
So ultimately, Officer McLemore made the decision to arrest the
To
defendant.
put, yes, sir.
And your role in this case was that you were assisting in that arrest.
That is correct.
When the second disturbance occurred, was Officer McLemore closer to that second disturbance?
I believe so, yes, sir. I think that was the furthest one along.
Following the pat down, the defendant was was the defendant told to leave?
He was,
He chose not to.
that's correct.
In State's Exhibit number 2, the defendant, you can hear the defendant complaining about a busted eye. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So the defendant claimed an injury. Did the defendant claim an injury?
He did,
Was he taken to the hospital?
he was.
And did he ultimately refuse to allow medical professionals to help him?
He did.
Objection, Your Honor. Can I afford to hear the witness just very quickly?
What'd you say?
Can I afford to hear the witness?
You want to take on voir dire?
Yeah.
Okay, you may.
Did you go to the hospital?
You could approach the podium.
Did you go to the hospital with the defendant?
That's my report reflects, yes, sir.
So you were present, at the location with Officer McLemore at the hospital?
You asking if me and Officer McLemore at the hospital?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
password.
Okay,
Sorry. Not
Mr. Hughes,
And nothing further, Your Honor.
okay, you have any?
Just, just a couple. You were asked, by state's attorney, if when he was arrested, the defendant posed a danger to himself or others. Who was it that he posed a danger to?
I believe him so.
So why, if he posed a danger to himself, was he just seconds before told to go home?
Well, because at that point, we realized the level of intoxication, I believe. He's not able to follow simple commands. He's argumentative, he's sitting there just not following any kind of lawful orders to, go back to his house, get out of the parking lot. And we're trying to.
So
The
he
goal
was,
is-
just to be clear, he wasn't a threat to himself or others when he was passed by, when he was standing on the side, right?
I've never made contact with him at that time.
You did go by him though.
I did go by.
Ah. And he wasn't a threat to himself or others after it was determined that he didn't have a weapon. Right? Because y'all released him.
So what's the question, sir?
Am I correct in saying that? He was not a threat to himself or others when he was released and told to kick rocks or kick off?
Well, if he would have gone back to his apartment and we're sitting there facilitating that, then no, sir. It'd be the same thing as us releasing him, to someone else.
But because he was demanding information from law enforcement, because of what just happened to him, or wrong that he felt had happened to him, he all of a sudden became a danger to himself?
No, sir, that's not what I said.
That's what.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Mr. Hughes, okay.
To be clear, Officer McLemore did, identify himself to the defendant, correct? When,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was misunderstanding. Yes, sir, you did.
and he made no attempts that you witnessed to hide his identity.
No, sir.
No further questions.
Okay,
Not part of.
may this witness be excused?
Yes, from.
Okay. Officer Holmes, you excused. You may step down and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
And Judge, just for the record, I believe the officer has to go attend to some family matters and has been on overnight. I have no intention of recalling you. as a
Okay.
witness.
All right, you're free to go. State, you can call your next witness.
The state calls Officer McLemore.
Officer McLemore. Officer McLemore, would you please come forward? Officer McLemore, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear firm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may put your hand down. You can take the witness stand, adjust the mic in the chair. Attorney Nixon, you may proceed.
Afternoon. Um. Officer McLemore, can you state your name and for the jury?
My name is Officer McLemore, Beaumont Police Department.
That goes to the next question is how are you presently employed?
I'm employed with the Beaumont Police Department as a grade 1 patrol officer within nights.
Can you describe your educational background?
I completed the LIT Regional Academy. Also have training with our special response team for field force operations and civil unrest.
How long have you been a peace officer in the Beaumont Police Department?
Approximately 3 years.
Okay. Are you a certified peace officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What are your duties in your present position within the Beaumont Police Department?
Answer calls for service and then respond to civil protests and civil unrest situations.
Thank you. Were your position and duties the same as they are now, as they were on February 9th, 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you employed as a peace officer with the Beaumont Police Department on February 9th, 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember responding to a call for assistance on the night of February 9th, 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where was that call you responded to at?
It was at Starcrest Manor at 3255 Elmira in Beaumont, Jefferson County.
Okay. What type of call did you respond to?
It was a disturbance. Calling us advised that it was approximately 20 people having a disturbance in the parking lot.
Okay. Were you in uniform when you responded?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you in a patrol vehicle?
I'm marked patrol unit.
Were you the only officer that responded to this call?
No, ma'am, due to the amount of people that were supposed to be there, I believe approximately 5 or 6 of us showed up.
What was the scene like when you first got to the disturbance?
When we first go to the apartment complex, there was 20, if not well over 20 individuals gathered up around the building that interest had left. Immediately when they saw our patrol units, a bunch of them took off running through the apartment complex. we circled the complex and then came back, and the majority of them that were there, as well as some of them that had originally fled, had kind of recongregated back in the same location.
While you were responding to this call for disturbance, did you have any interactions with individuals on the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did that interaction result in the arrest of an individual?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you see that individual in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you point to where the individual is sitting and that you arrested that night?
Right there.
Okay. Can you identify him by article of clothes that they are wearing?
He's wearing a black t-shirt and a watch.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that this witness had identified the defendant, Omar Young Sr.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant Omar Young Sr.
Can you describe the interaction between yourself and the defendant that night?
When we approached the large crowd that was in the area, before we even made it to them and was given a verbal command to disperse, Omar began walking directly towards me with his hands tucked inside the front of his shorts.
Does that indicate to you as an officer?
It's a safety issue, especially at this apartment complex in general. It's a really high violent crime area. There's a lot of firearm calls for service consistent of shots fired, victims of shootings that have occurred, at least since I've been there. It's really common when people take off running, when you come to these apartment complexes, it's usually to hide or conceal firearms. To me, that indicated that he may be in possession of a firearm, which they commonly keep inside of their waistband or in their shorts or in the hoodie either.
So what actions did you perform to ensure officer safety?
A pat down.
Okay. I have a follow-up question on officer safety. Can you explain the difference that it would be between an officer passing someone who's standing there with their hands in their pockets as opposed to someone who's walking towards an officer with their hands in their pockets?
Well, to me, the difference is he's walking towards me. I don't know what his intention on, especially when I'm giving him commands to go home. It's time to leave. For him to walk towards me with his hands in his shorts. I don't know if he's approaching me because he has a firearm, but it definitely raises a red flag for me that that's a threat coming towards me.
After the search, did you place the defendant under arrest?
No, ma'am,
Okay. And why didn't you place him under arrest at this time?
because I discovered that he did not have a firearm on him. I felt that my safety was no longer in jeopardy or anybody else's, so I released him and gave him the opportunity to leave again.
And why did you ultimately decide to place him under arrest?
Mr. Young was intoxicated. I observed symptoms indicating that he was intoxicated through my training experience. Whenever I released him and gave him the opportunity to leave again, he was shouting over me instead of listening to my commands and even stated that he wasn't going anywhere or something along the lines of that. Did that answer you?
Yes. Or what are the signs of intoxication that you observed in the defendant?
I could smell alcohol on him, an alcoholic beverage. His eyes were bloodshot. He was slurring in his speech. Commonly, when we deal with people who are intoxicated, their ability to listen to reason and to have a conversation goes out the window, and it becomes them talking over you rather than listening to what it is that you're trying to communicate to them effectively. And that's what I was dealing with Mr. Young.
Okay. So that's when you placed him under arrest for public intoxication.
Correct.
Okay. And that he was a danger to himself then, or others?
I believe him to be, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Once you told the defendant he was under arrest, did he comply with your directions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What happened when you tried to handcuff the defendant?
He began pulling away, using his strength to resist, his hands being placed behind his back, to the point that it took approximately 3 officers to get him into hand restraints.
Okay. So he struggled against you.
Yes,
Did the defendant say he was injured during the arrest?
he did.
Okay. Did you seek to provide medical care for the defendant?
I did.
Okay. Going back to the injury, did he specifically say any type of injury that he had?
He said that his eye was leaking me to indicate that he believed that he was maybe bleeding around the area of his eye. Which I immediately, once I got him in a patrol unit, identified, checked him to make sure that he wasn't injured. There was no blood. He was sweating profusely, but there was no signs of any injury on him. And then we transported him to Baptist just to be on the safe side, having medical cleared.
So you transported him to medical care. What happened at the hospital?
At the hospital, Mr. Young was still cursing and being verbally, well, he was creating a disturbance in the lobby of the hospital and being disrespectful to the hospital staff. Just
Did-
belligerent, essentially.
Did he ultimately refuse medical care?
He did refuse medical care
Okay, where did you take him after you took him from the hospital?
to the Jefferson County.
Mhm. We're gonna view a body camera video soon. It's from the body camera you're wearing that night on February 9th, 2025. Was that your body camera that was issued by the Vermont Police Department?
It was not.
Okay, whose was it?
That was Officer James Graham's.
And why did you have Officer Graham's body camera?
Shortly before responding to this call, I responded to another call in which he was dealing with an individual that was resistant to the point they had to be restrained in a wrap restraint device to prevent him from hurting himself. And while we were placing him into the same device, my body camera, along with Officer Graham's body camera, were both knocked off. And whenever we retrieved our body cameras, I retrieved his and he retrieved mine, and I didn't realize it at the time.
But nonetheless, you're a competent operator of the device.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Judge, may I approach you, please?
Yes.
Students' questions. Okay, so. I'm showing you as marked states exhibit number 3. Do you know what this is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you listened to and watched this recording?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was the recording prepared on a device capable of making an accurate recording of the audio and visual information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was the operator competent to operate the device?
Yes, ma'am.
So this recording is an accurate copy of the conversations that took place that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. And does it contain the images of the events do the images of the events contained in this record fairly and accurately reflect the events shown in the recording?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Except for the purposes of the trial, has the recording been altered in any manner?
No, ma'am.
At this time, states exhibit 3 to the defense for inspection.
Permission to board the witness?
Yes, board out of witness.
You were asked if except as altered for trial, it hasn't been changed. What has been changed?
I do not know.
Okay, withdraw. No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. No objection, states exhibit number 3 is admitted.
Your Honor, may I have permission to publish the jury?
Yes.
Hey, wake it up. Time we go to bed. I don't care where y'all go or what y'all do. I don't care where y'all go or what y'all do. Exactly, move around. That's a real good point. Take your hands out of your pants. Take your hands out of your pants. Because I said to, this is this, I had to go. That's exactly what recording, what I did. How did you do it? I want your badge number, I want your badge number, your name, too. I want your badge number, your name. Take off. I'm going home. Can I get your badge number, your name? Okay. Go home. Man, I don't care where you go, but you go. Let me get your badge number first. It's hard, so you have to give me your badge. You don't have that. You don't have that. Oh, what you got something? Go. You got something. You got something. What is, you got something? I said, you're not gonna go down the other one, right? Good start. I can smell. Record this shit. Record this shit. Thank you. Record. Thank you. Record this shit. Thank you. Thank you. Record. Y'all about to have a long shoot for car AIDS. Y'all about to have a long shoot for y'all AIDS. I'm not a complicated. You can't prove I'm a complicated. All you do, so you can't, then you can't blow me. Blow me. And you can't give me the tell. You know, it's a grand. You can't post my arm. Thank you. I'm gonna tell you I'm recording. You can put it back. Now I get a fucking long slip of y'all, baby. Now I get a lawsuit. It's everybody recorded. You're not gonna quality. It's very complicated. Do you hear this man? He's down there complicated. I haven't talked to Rick out back. He's gonna bust my motherfucker out. He's gonna bust my motherfucker out. Now it's a bit. Oh, it's going down. Hey, get my phone, man. It's going down. Y'all come here, bro. Thank you, man. That's what we get, man. Hey, yeah, put it in our phone. Hey, hang on. Look out. Let's go with it. Thank you. How are you, Blake? You know I get paid. I'm in top to say this. Please, you, Blake. Come out. Come out. I was restricted on the ground. Man, you don't bump my motherfucking team. I didn't do a motherfucking bad. Y'all don't want to get lost. You want to get lost. And I promise you that. It's coming. My sister's a lawyer. It's coming. Okay. Actually, not only are you under arrest for PL, we also are under arrest for I didn't do that. You don't have a right to search me. I wasn't motherfucking, I wasn't what's your name? Know your business? Okay. I know your business. You're gonna straight on that line. I wasn't expecting those guys to commit the crime. So your ass is out of there. I'm telling you, your ass is out of there. Your ass is out of there. Your ass is out of there. It's right out of the recording. Your ass is out of there. I promise you. You know, bust my motherfucker out. Everybody got on record. Hey, y'all recorded that? Y'all recorded that? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all run up on me. I was suspected of a crime or committing a crime. I'm standing outside, just like everybody else.
More questions?
No further questions? Okay. Mr. Wilkerson?
Yes, Your Honor. On February 9th, 2025, were you working the same area as you are now? Or
No, sir.
assigned to the same patrol area?
No, sir.
What area were you assigned to at that time?
Believe that I was assigned to the north end, but that night, if I recall correctly, I was in a city swing unit,
Okay.
which means we were essentially covering the entire city.
Had you responded to disturbances at that location before?
At that before?
Yes. How many times?
I do not recall.
Can you give an estimate?
15, are you talking about the same night, or are you talking about in general?
In general, before this incident?
Maybe 10 to 15,
Had you ever encountered the defendant previously?
not to my recollection.
When you conducted the arrest of the defendant, did you check to see if he had any type of record or outstanding warrants?
Checked them through teletype to see if he had warrants.
Had he ever been arrested previously?
Not to my knowledge, I didn't check his criminal history.
How old's the defendant?
I believe he was born in the mid-80s.
Now, you say at the end of that video, he's under arrest for both public intoxication and for resisting search, right?
Search and or arrest.
Search and or arrest. Well, in the video, you said search, right?
Yes,
Okay, and so is he being charged with resisting the initial search or the subsequent arrest?
he was being charged with resisting arrest after he was placed in arrest with public intoxication.
I see. How long had you been at that location before this interaction with the defendant?
If I had to approximate 10 to 15 minutes.
All right, had you walked by the defendant several times already?
I do not recall.
All right, I'm gonna show you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 1, which I'll represent to you since it's in evidence, is the body camera footage from Officer Holmes. So let me stop it right now. Prior to Officer Holmes' arrival, are you already on the scene?
Officer Holmes and I arrived together.
Y'all arrived together. Are y'all in the same vehicle or
Same vehicle.
same vehicle?
Same vehicle.
Okay, so as you're walking along then,
Got people running everywhere.
was that yourself or Officer Holmes? Who said you got people running everywhere?
I don't recall.
All right. Who are the officers up ahead of you?
Can't tell right here.
All right, do you see an individual on the left-hand side in a red jacket?
I see an individual in a white t-shirt.
How about now? You see an individual in a red jacket?
Yes,
So you did walk by the defendant, right?
yes,
Other officers as well, correct?
correct.
At that time, was he told
If
any?
that is the defendant, correct.
Okay, so you don't know if that's the defendant?
No.
Okay.
They had 60 yards on that throwing machine.
Now, by this point, yourself, Officer Holmes, and at least two other officers have already walked by the individual in the red shirt, correct?
Correct.
Without any instructions, without any questioning or anything, correct?
Correct.
Despite having a flashlight shined on them, correct?
Correct.
You testified when you arrived that there were about 20 people in a gathering. Where were those people?
In that area where we just walked past those individuals.
I see. So that's the area where people were running away from.
Correct.
Okay. And is there any video of that congregation that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge.
So other officers had arrived on scene prior to yourself and Officer Holmes, correct?
If not approximately around the same time, within seconds, possibly.
All right, and well, in fact, when this individual who Officer Holmes gets out of the vehicle, you can already see flashing lights, correct?
Correct.
Alright, so is it your testimony that that vehicle arrived at the same time as you and Officer Holmes?
I cannot attest to the minute that that officer arrived on scene.
Alright, well, what I'm really wondering is about the crowd, right? When they scattered or dispersed or where they were located. That's not reflected on any of this body camera footage, is it?
I have to believe that you just asked me if that was the area.
Right, okay, so your body cam footage, why is not the initial footage produced?
I believe because it was irrelevant to the interaction with Holmes or by Mr. Young.
Is it that right? Where's the control? I think it's back this way.
Who's speaking right there?
Either myself or Officer Holmes.
Are y'all both in the vicinity of each other at that time? Or were you one of the officers who had walked further out?
I don't recall.
Okay. Tell you what, before we go on with this, at what point did you interact with anyone besides the defendant?
I don't believe that I did actually have any interaction with anyone besides the defendant.
I thought you said everyone out there was intoxicated.
I didn't say everyone was intoxicated.
Now, at this point, you can hear significant hollering and screaming, right?
On Officer Holmes' body camera, as we're speaking, yes, I can.
Okay, that's not coming from the area that the defendant was in, is it?
I don't recall.
Calm down. What you think? Talk about that shit. What you think I'm talking about fast? Go home when you go to jail. Go. What does she have?
Now, all of this is taking place before the video that was introduced while you've been testifying ever begins, huh? Is that you who hollers go inside before we start PIing people?
I'm not sure.
If Officer Holmes identified it as you, would he be making false representations?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that was me or not.
What does that mean? That you're just gonna start PIing people if they don't go home?
It means I'm gonna start investigating whether or not people are intoxicated, because at these congregations at 1 o'clock in the morning at these apartment complexes, generally, the majority of the people involved are intoxicated.
Well, but you didn't ask if you didn't say you were gonna start investigating, did you? You said you were gonna PI people, right?
I did. If that was me, I did.
Without any investigation whatsoever, right?
No,
No, not right.
Not right.
You hadn't interacted with a single person, had you?
I have not, other than telling people to go inside.
Had you gotten close to any people?
I'm sure that I walked past some people.
Had you questioned anyone?
At that time, I don't recall.
So what investigation has taken place so far?
At this point,
Yes.
a large disturbance was occurring and the crowd had relatively been dispersed.
Okay, so what investigation is taking place at this juncture? What are you investigating?
A disturbance
A disturbance. How are you investigating it?
by trying to locate the disturbance.
Were you able to locate the disturbance?
In the process of the crowd dispersing, there were numerous disturbances that were located. At one of them you just watched on video.
What typically is involved in investigating an incident? Do you speak to witnesses?
If there is a witness on scene that was victimized at the time, yes.
If there is a witness to somebody else being victimized, do you speak to a witness?
Can you repeat that?
If there is a witness to some other person being victimized, do you speak to those witnesses?
Yes.
If there are physical items, is crime scene technicians called out to photograph the area?
If there's physical evidence to be photographed?
Yes.
Yes.
If there's biological evidence, is somebody called to take DNA swabs?
Yes.
If there's an altercation, are people involved in that altercation spoken with?
Yes.
Can you note the time on this video? What time of the morning is it?
I can't see it from here, but I believe it was approximately 1:10 in the morning.
You can, if you can turn around, there's a TV behind you. Can you see that a little bit better?
1:04.
Ah. Alright, so when this recording starts, what time is it?
1:14, almost 1:15.
Alright. Right, at that point, you've gotten out of your vehicle and other officers are also walking toward that silver vehicle, is that correct?
We're walking towards that general area where they are congregating. That is correct.
All right, so you're saying that there's a general congregation that you're approaching, right?
Correct.
Hey, break it up. Time for that.
Now, you're saying, break it up right there, that congregation, can you tell how many people are congregated there?
In this video, I cannot.
This is your body count, correct?
That's correct.
Can you recall how many people were allegedly congregated there?
I believe there are approximately 10.
All right,
I don't care where y'all go, what y'all do. I don't care where y'all go, what y'all do, exactly, move around.
so as you're coming closer, would you say that 10 people are in view there? In your body cam footage,
I
just
would
before
say-
this stop?
I would say in view there is Mr. Omar in
Okay.
the back of that car.
You would say here is the defendant, right?
Correct.
Wearing the same clothing that we earlier talked about, right?
Correct.
Alright,
That's a real good point, take your hands out of your pants, huh? Take your hands out of your wallet, because I said to, this has to go.
now, at that point, he's actually passed you, correct? walking away.
At that point, he gave his body to me and went a step aside from me. That's correct.
I
And
see
you can also see more people in the background there.
3, right?
In this view,
Oh.
3. Yes.
Well, I tell you what, let's back up for a minute just to make sure that we can all be on the same page here with regard to.
Okay, where y'all going?
Alright, how many people can you see in that view?
Mr. Omar.
How many people can you see?
I can see Mr. Omar.
Is that it?
That's what I can see right here. I can see a couple blurry in the back seat or behind that vehicle.
Okay, so you're saying that that figure there underneath the bright light is the defendant?
Y'all do.
I believe so.
I don't care where y'all go, what y'all do.
Well, that's the defendant right there, right?
Correct.
So the person underneath the light was not defendant Omar Young,
You're
right?
right. It was another individual.
Alright, so Mr. Young is coming around from this
Exactly,
vehicle.
move around. That's a good point. That's a good guy. Thank you.
Now, first of all, what is he suspected of?
Right here in this exact moment,
Yes.
carrying a firearm is what I'm thinking of.
Carrying a firearm. Is carrying a firearm a crime in the United States of America?
It's not a crime, but
Is
it's still a
carrying a
danger if you're clutching it in your hands while you approach me.
Is carrying a firearm a crime in the state of Texas?
Just carrying one in general, I know it is not.
I see. So, again, you say right now your reasonable suspicion is a belief that he may be carrying a firearm.
I'm saying that right now, my focus is solely averted to Mr. Young because he's approaching me with his hands without it running his finger.
Well, do you know that the silver vehicle is his?
I don't.
He asks you why, you don't tell him, do you? You say because you said so.
He asked me why the silver vehicle is his.
No, he asked you why take his hands out of his pants, and your response was because I said so, right?
Yes,
You could have easily said officer safety, right?
I could.
But you wanted him to respond to your commands, right?
I wanted him to remove his hands from his pants.
Would walking by an officer constitute a crime even if he had a firearm on him?
I didn't say that it was a crime. I said it was a danger.
I'm sorry, so you have to have reasonable suspicion to stop someone, right?
When I'm responding to an apartment complex that is notorious for shots fired calls.
Objection non-responsive.
Objection sustained.
Do you have to have reasonable suspicion to stop someone?
Yes,
To conduct a pat-down search?
yes.
What is the reasonable suspicion here that you can articulate to this jury right now?
This is an extremely high crime area in which actors regularly carry firearms. A group of individuals and Officer Holmes' body camera that immediately ran. That's a common reaction in these apartment complexes where they run to conceal and or hide firearms. When responding to these calls, individuals that do conceal firearms often conceal them in the front of their waistband, in their shorts, in their armpits, in their hoodies.
At this point, officer, you've already walked by this defendant, right?
As people were running and my attention was not averted to him, yes, I have.
You weren't running at the time, were you?
I was not.
You saw officers in front of you shining a flashlight on this person, right?
Correct.
He wasn't engaged in running, right?
Correct.
He wasn't engaged in hollering, right?
Sure.
At this point, you're approaching a group of people and telling them to disperse and go home, right?
Correct.
All right. And so if somebody is obeying that order, they would be moving to either their apartment or to their vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And if somebody is there visiting with a coworker and they just got off work, have they committed any crime?
No.
And if somebody is carrying a weapon, have they committed any crime?
Not just carrying a weapon. No.
And so at this point, you're saying that because of the situation, right, because you were responding to a disturbance, this person was assumed to have potentially been carrying a weapon that they intended to use against an officer?
I'm saying that because this individual approached me with his hands inside his pants while I was responding to an active disturbance regarding close to 20 individuals, I absolutely stopped this individual to ensure that he did not have a firearm as he approached me with his hand in his pants.
I see, you'd already been on the scene for about 15 minutes, right?
Correct.
So during that entire time, this defendant was not deemed to be any type of a threat to anyone, was he?
Not to my knowledge.
All right. So we're at 48 seconds now into this body camera footage.
Hands out of your wallet, because I said this,
So now you say, take your hands out of your pants. And he says, for what? Right? Right?
Correct.
All right. And you say that because he's approaching you, you need to search him for weapons, right?
That's not what I said.
Okay.
I needed to pat him down for weapons
You needed to pat him down for weapons. Why?
because he is walking towards me, clutching something inside of his shorts.
He's walking away from you,
He
isn't he?
gated his body, from me, which is a common response before someone produces a firearm from their shorts.
Are you, so you had to turn around, physically turn to grab him, right?
Partially, my body camera is attached to the left side of my chest, as it is right now currently.
Mm-hmm.
So the angle probably is a misrepresentation of exactly how I was standing.
All right, well, let's look at it again, okay?
where y'all go, what y'all do, exactly, move around, that's a real good point, right?
Now, at this point, you're facing toward the defendant, right?
At this point, I'm probably squared off to the
Take out your pants, huh? Take your hands out of your wallet.
Now, when you're talking to him, he's walking to the left of you, right? He's got his hands
That's incorrect. He's walking to the right.
to your right, okay. He's walking to the right of you. He's moved a bit away from you. He's got his hands in his pockets, right?
He's got his hands in his shorts or around the area.
I said this, this has to go.
Now you grab him, right?
Correct.
Because he refused to comply with your command, right?
Incorrect.
Oh, why'd you grab him?
To pat him down for a firearm.
So, let's carry on.
That's exactly what we're doing.
How many officers get involved in this pat down for a firearm?
I can't tell.
Record, record.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's back it up. Just look. 3 or 4? Okay.
What I did. Yeah, what y'all doing? How did you do it?
He's asking you a number of times to identify why it has been stopped, isn't he?
Yes.
He has not been given a response, has he?
No.
He is being grabbed by a number of officers, correct?
Correct.
I don't want your parents on there, I want the parents on your head, so. I don't want your parents on your head.
At this point, is he resisting?
At this point, he's passively resistant.
Passively resisting. Okay.
Kick rock, I'm go home.
What did you mean when you said kick rocks, go home?
I meant leave. It's not
Okay.
go.
Again, he disobeys your command, right?
Can I get the band on my name? Okay, go home. Man, I don't care where you go, but go home.
At this point, what is he doing that's unlawful in nature?
I mean, at this point, he's intoxicated as he was the entire time.
I see. So he's so intoxicated that he poses a threat to himself or others, right?
If that silver car was his, I would say it's a threat for him to operate said car.
You didn't know what was his, right?
I did.
All right. So he's so intoxicated right now that he's a danger to himself or others, right?
I believe so.
And yet you release him and tell him go home, right? You don't know where home is. You tell him go home, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, let me get your band on the first.
Now, where is he slurring his speech here?
He slurs his speech the entire time.
Once you have to get in your bed, we don't have that. We don't have that. What you have some? Go. You got some?
At this point, that's Officer that's you moving to his side, correct?
Correct.
As he is trying to access a recording on his phone, correct?
I don't know.
So the offense he committed wasn't intoxication, but it was not following your commands, right?
Incorrect.
You gotta stop ordering, you gotta stop. I'll do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Now you say, put your hands behind your back, right?
Correct.
And a number of people grabbed him immediately, right?
Correct.
I can smell how.
Now you're talking about smelling alcohol, right?
Correct.
Prior to this point, you haven't said a thing about intoxication or a smell of alcohol, have you?
Prior to this point, I was not trying to escalate the situation. I was trying to get them to disperse.
I see. Is that a no, officer?
That's a no.
Now, at this point, y'all are on the ground? Or who's on the ground? Did you go to the ground during this tussle?
I assisted in getting them to the ground and my body camera was knocked off.
No officer went to the ground, correct?
I don't recall.
Record this shit. You record it?
Is that the resisting that you're complaining of?
Yes.
Him yelling, record this?
No. Him physically pulling away from officers that are on top of him in that last image you just saw, trying to get hand signs with that.
Record this shit. Thank you, record.
So it's your representation that right now he's actively struggling against the officers.
It's my representation that from the time that we grabbed him to place him under arrest, and still currently, yes, he's resisting arrest.
Y'all got to have a long swoop on car heads. Y'all got to have a long swoop on y'all heads.
At this point is where he's told he's under arrest for public intoxication, right?
I believe that he was actually told that immediately when he was grabbed by officers.
You had said, you're drunk, right? You told him you could smell the alcohol on him, right?
I don't recall.
I'm a complicated. You can't, we only complicated. You can't blame it.
When he talks about blowing him, he's talking about a breathalyzer.
Correct, would be my assumption.
A breath test, though, isn't required for a public intoxication arrest, is it?
No, sir.
Only the officer's observations that that individual is intoxicated and posing a danger to himself or others, right?
Correct.
Why isn't he given a breathalyzer at this time if you suspect him of being drunk? That's what you accused him of, right? Being drunk?
Because we don't do breathalyzers with public intoxication arrest.
So is he actively resisting at this point? He said for not following instructions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're saying that throughout this video is him slurring his words, right?
Correct.
They give my phone, it's going down.
Is he resisting at this point?
I don't recall.
Yeah, let me know. Hang on. Thank
No,
you.
he is not.
I get paid. You know I get paid. I'm in complicated. Please, baby. Shut it out. Shut it out. I was restricted on my around. Man, you don't break my motherfucking team. I had to do a motherfucking thing. Y'all nobody can lost me. You about to get lost me. And I promise you that it's coming. My sister's a lawyer. It's coming. Okay, 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 okay.
Now you hear him say he's getting in there freely, right?
Yes,
And he gets in the vehicle, right?
yes,
He's not resisting at this point, right?
no, not physically.
Okay, so he's resisting verbally.
He refuses to provide information shortly is what I was referring to.
I see. So he's resisting arrest verbally and what, psychologically?
No,
You indicated in your report that at the point that you were walking towards where the defendant was, that a number of individuals had recongregated, correct?
may I refer to my report?
Yes, sir. Third paragraph, had returned.
Correct.
All right. This defendant, though, he never left that area, did he?
I can attest to that. I wasn't standing by him the entire time. You saw me walk through the apartment complex.
You said that people were continuing to loiter in the parking lot and disturb the peace, right?
Correct.
How was the defendant disturbing the peace as you approached him?
They were still over there being loud and shouting.
That shouting can be heard on your body cam footage?
I don't recall.
I'm asking you specifically about this defendant, though. How was he disturbing the peace at that time?
At that time, he was not specifically disturbing the peace to my recollection.
All right. You say in your report, I know that offenders will often conceal firearms in the front side of their waistbands, right?
Correct.
What does the word offender mean?
People who are committing crimes.
What crime was this defendant committing?
At that time, he was involved in a disturbance.
I see.
He called to the apartment complex for.
You didn't see him yell, talk to anybody who ran or anything of that nature, but he was involved in a disturbance. Can you describe his involvement?
He was in the large group that was originally congregated, that were originally called the location for.
In your report, you say, as he was approaching you, you advised him to remove his hands from his waistband, to which he refused, right?
Correct.
Now, you testified that you had been trying to de-escalate. If you were trying to de-escalate, why did you say, because I told you so, instead of officer safety?
I don't recall.
All right. So you then go on to say that while performing the pat down, you could smell the distinct odor of alcohol emanating from his breath or person, right?
Correct.
Okay. But you kicking loose, right?
Correct.
If he's so intoxicated, I mean, wouldn't you presume that he could cause harm to himself or others?
I would presume that, however, genuinely, especially being that there are other people there, I allowed him the opportunity to leave and perhaps go with one of these people so that he wasn't a danger to himself or anybody else when he chose to not do that.
You stated in your report that as he demanded name and badge number, it became increasingly obvious to you that he was intoxicated as he could not even be spoken to without shouting over me, right? That's how you characterized it in your report, right?
Correct.
And you believe that's what's reflected in that body cam footage?
In the entirety of the body cam footage, yes.
You put in your report that he was a danger to himself or others and being involved in a disturbance. Now, officer, if he was involved in that disturbance, why did nobody ask him what was going on or tell him to leave when y'all were running around the apartment complex?
Because initially, the people that we're concerned with are the people that are running, because they're running for a reason,
Well, why are you concerned about the ones that are running?
because they're running for a reason.
Like what?
People don't flee at the immediate side of law enforcement.
Okay, so why are what is your suspicion regarding these people who are fleeing?
That they're attempting to get somewhere to conceal a firearm or conceal any controlled or illegal substances.
I see. So just shouting off to the side, go home, wasn't an option.
I don't recall.
Wasn't important to you at the time though, right?
What was important to me at the time was my safety and everyone else's safety.
Okay. So at the time you're talking about y'all are pursuing people who are running, right?
I don't recall saying that we pursued them.
Okay. Now, you then go on to say that due to him preventing a person he knew to be a peace officer, right? That he was preventing an arrest or search. He was charged with a resisting arrest in addition to public intoxication, right?
Correct.
All right. And then you also said that because of refusing to give his name, he would be charged with failure to identify, right?
Correct.
So was the defendant charged with failure to identify?
I don't recall. Class C misdemeanors are not saved to our reports. They're reflected on the PC affidavit alone. As far as the charges that reflect on the reports, we don't enter them in an hours. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Let me restate it. Would you agree that the majority of evading arrest cases are born from somebody running from law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree additionally that those that do not arise from active flee are typically associated with
Objection relevance, Your Honor, in regards to the question regarding the data.
Objection overruled.
that people who are charged with evading arrest are typically the ones who don't flee on foot are typically charged because they have engaged in a physical altercation with an officer.
With for evading,
Yes, or
people will
resisting.
get charged with evading or resisting.
And are the vast majority of those cases because somebody is substantially intoxicated on substances to where they often don't recognize where they are?
The vast majority of evading cases,
Yes, or resisting.
what I say that I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So would you agree that the cases of resisting that arise not from fleeing on foot, but from altercations with officers, that the vast majority of those involve individuals who are substantially intoxicated to the extent that they may not be able to discern reality from whatever they believe is happening.
So just to reiterate, you're asking me if the majority of resisting cases stem from someone who's intoxicated.
Yes.
Okay. I would say that a large number of them do. I can't attest to whether or not said that's majority.
And in this case, well, let me ask it this way. There were a number of officers involved in the pat down search, correct? I believe we addressed that earlier.
Correct.
Did officers immediately become involved in the arrest as well?
Correct.
Okay. Isn't it true that when multiple officers are involved, there can be pushing and pulling in different directions, as well as commands that are in opposite to each other?
Possible.
When you say he's passively resisting, what do you mean by that?
Are you referring to whenever I went to pat him down?
When you testified that he was passively resisting, yes, I'm asking you what you mean by passively.
When I grabbed control of Mr. Young's arm to pat him down, he slightly pulled away. That's when other officers intervened and helped me pull his arms away. I would say that's passively because he wasn't using strength. He was just passively pulling.
Okay, and specifically his resisting during the arrest portion, what was the manner in which he was resisting?
He pulled his arms away from officers to the point that they were required to bring him to the ground to gain control of his arms.
I see. So instead of being told he was under arrest, you and other officers reached for him, correct?
I believe he was told he was under arrest.
All right, you and other officers all reached for him at the same time, correct?
Correct, possibly.
Past witness.
Mr. Hubel?
Correct me if I'm wrong, officer, but whenever Ms. Nixon had you introduce yourself to the jury, was your answer Officer McLemore?
That's correct.
Okay, can you state your full name just for the record?
Officer Joey, middle name too?
First and last are sufficient.
Officer Joey Mackel.
Thank you. And to be clear about what's being charged in this case, the resisting arrest, was that conduct taking place when you and officers first reached for the defendant?
During the initial pat down or during the?
No,
Arrest.
this is after the, to be clear about the question, this is after the pat down, when you and other officers reached for the defendant, to place him under arrest for PI. Is that when the resisting began?
Correct.
Okay. And, can you describe that resisting?
Mr. Young pulled his arms away. He refused to allow us to put his arms behind his back, place him in handcuffs. He was physically pulling his arms forward, and preventing them, obstructing them from going behind his back.
Okay. And would you characterize that as struggling against, your attempt to place him under arrest?
Yes.
And that, the resisting charge in this case, was that concluded when, he was, placed in cuffs and lifted from the ground?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Wilkerson in his questioning brought up, in State's Exhibit number 1, that you and other officers passed an individual in red, on that video, who he claims to be the defendant in this case. Was that defendant, whenever y'all were walking by him in State's Exhibit number 1, walking towards an officer?
No,
Was he, based on your observations at that point, or your observations in State's Exhibit 1, contributing to an act of disturbance at that time?
no,
When responding to a call like you did on the night of February 9th, 2025, do you have more immediate concerns at that scene?
yes, in fact, shortly before this call, I responded to another apartment complex in the south end where individuals ran the same way in the same exact manner, and one of them actually dropped a firearm. So,
Was there still an active disturbance going on at this scene? In, the one, central to this case?
yes,
Okay. And there were other, and like you said, there were other individuals around, is that correct?
that's correct.
So in this instance, you prioritize the active disturbance.
Correct.
The defense, Mr. Wilkerson also asked some questions regarding investigation generally, as well as public intoxication. So you agree that you would not make an arrest without conducting an investigation or without seeing some sort of evidence, correct?
Correct.
Now, on the night in question, on September 9th of 2025, did you observe signs that the defendant was intoxicated?
I did.
And can you reiterate what those signs that you observed were?
He was slurring his speech.
Objection,
His eyes
may we
blinked
approach
up.
your honor?
Okay, hold on a minute.
I think that's the one.
I have no more questions, Your Honor.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Officer McLemore, you excused?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you have a blessed day. Thank you. Call your next witness.
Just going to say the rest.
Okay.
Defense rest, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, the court has to have what is called a charge conference. And that's a conference with the attorneys. Court is gonna prepare a charge, and we have to have a conference prior to doing that. Well, after we do that, and then after we have the conference, then we'll have the case set for closing arguments of the state and the defense. Okay, and so it's 4:25 PM. And so what we'll probably have to do is reset case until 1:30 on tomorrow to give us time to prepare the charge and have them, give them time to do the closing arguments before the jury gets the case. Okay? So at this time, you're excused for the evening. You can please stand. We need to have everyone back on tomorrow at 1:30 in front of the courtroom. Okay, everyone, please stand as the jury exits the courtroom. Okay, court will be in recess. Let's do this here. We're gonna